So what's up, everyone? It is your girl, Gelbeauty Beauty here, aka Grace, and it's time for another Why You Don't Need or Do You Really Need video. So, in today's Why You Don't Need or Do You Really Need video, we gonna dupe the Airbender set. Sorry, the last Airbender set from Lethal Cosmetics. Then we're gonna do those palettes that I showed y'all and the new makeup releases. You haven't seen it yet, I don't think. I don't know when this goes up, but you have we're gonna do the palettes from that video, the 3 clarity ones. I still don't know the name of them. I'm so sorry, I don't know. And we're gonna do the new coastal palette from Simply Posh Cosmetics. So I got a few things in mind. Sit back, relax, girl, and if you have not subscribed, you need to already, because I do videos pretty regularly and y'all seem to really like them. So just hit the button and then you don't have to be searching in YouTube to find me. How about that? No, but without further ado, let's get started. So I'm gonna start with the Airbender collection because I think I only have 3 for those. I don't think I found one for the actual Air palette just because it's not a color story that I would reach to. It's like neutrals with like a orange and like a yellow. It looks like the Jeffree Star's, what is the Thirsty palette. That's what it gives me vibes of, like a miniature Thirsty palette from Jeffree Star. I don't know. That's the only palette I could think of that I remember looking similar to that. And I most likely wouldn't own a color story like that. However, if I do find one, I will post a cute little picture when we get to when we get to the Air palette, basically. So I will cross that bridge when we get to it. But y'all know I had one for the green palette, the earth palette. You know I had one for the water palette. I'm surprised that I had one for the fire palette because y'all know I don't really do neutral type tones. But I remember I had both the ColourPop and Chicago Bulls palette. So my ColourPop palette is redone to look like this. So this is what mine looks like, and I feel like this looks somewhat similar to that palette. I don't know, but I feel like you could just grab a warm tone palette as your collection and dupe out this palette really quickly. So I don't know. This is what mine looks like though. I just kind of played around with it and took some colors out. So it's missing like the black that's in that one, but I feel like all the other like neutrally warm tone shades are pretty on point. And like I said, I don't own that many warm tone palettes, so it's hard for me to pick one. I feel like maybe the Air palette, if you don't care about having the pop of blue, that you could use the Corderosa palette from Sigma, and that would be the equivalent for you. So that might be all got these ColourPop monochromatic palettes. So why don't you just pull it out and remember, you know good and well you got the Just My Luck palette. Now remember, I put my Just My Luck in what's that other one, meant to be together. So mine aren't gonna look the way yours does because I changed some stuff around. However, if you have the original one, then you could put that with this one. I might put a mock-up of the original one so you see what it actually looks like versus what mine looks like, because yours I don't think it's gonna have this shade if I remember correctly, or this shade over here. But I think the rest of the stuff in here is from the original Just My Luck palette. I do not know, do not quote me, girl, but yeah. So I'm trying to hold to make sure you actually see my palette this time, since my palette is different than the original Just My Luck. But yeah, I feel like if you have Just My Luck from ColourPop, you don't need the green palette. On to the next palette. I feel like if you have Blue Moon from ColourPop, which is still one of my all-time favorite ColourPop palettes, they did it with this monochromatic palette. I feel like if you have Blue Moon, you do not need to grab that palette, because as you can see, Blue Moon is giving very similar vibes to the water palette. Now I'm still probably gonna get water in that one, and air. I don't really care about fire. Y'all know I'm not a warm tone one, but I feel like air is just kind of somewhat unique. I have not looked to see what the bundle prices are looking like. I still need to pick up the fruit lighters from Clean. I plan on getting that bundle. Hopefully it's still available. I've been behind on stuff. My Sigma package just mailed off of Macy's, so hopefully I'll get that and I can do that stuff next week. But yeah, I feel like this just looks really similar to the water palette, so I don't need the water palette. I'm going to get the water palette though, because we know I love what? Blue, green, and purple. So the blue and green one was mine for sure. Now the Air palette, I'm still up in the air. Ha ha ha. No about that one because I don't know. But maybe you could just use your Dream Street palette from Kathleen Lights and copy that palette. I don't know. I feel like it has this beigeish, orangey, yellowish shade. It's not as bright yellow as that one is. You have this reddish shade in here like that palette does. It does have deeper blues instead of lighter blues, but I feel like maybe you could pull off and use this one. And since ColourPop palettes are magnetic, take another shade out of a ColourPop palette, or just, you know, use a single to finish off what you want to. Now, I don't know if you still be putting this on your eyeballs, just because this is so old. Kathleen Lights hadn't talked about ColourPop in years because she was mad at them about her friend or whatever. Child, I don't know. I heard that's what it was. I don't know. But I feel like this was the only palette I had in my collection that was somewhat similar to that. So I figured I'd show it because I'm here, you're here, we're all here. And like I said, if I have another mock-up or idea of the Air palette, I'll try to put them over here. But yeah, so the next palette I want to move on to is the Coastal palette from Simply Posh. Now I was looking at this and originally I didn't want it, but I'm like, I'm kind of interested in it. However, I just feel like it looks similar to these two palettes I already own, and I literally customized a palette to me that's somewhat similar to this. So it's like, do I really need to get this? No, I don't. But I'm gonna start with the one that was available for purchase, and it looks like its original color story before I start showing you the one that I changed and moved around and maneuvered and all that, girl, because y'all know I be out here doing too much. But I have the Through My Eyes from Isla Sarai in ColourPop. If you remember, this was her second collaboration with them. Her first palette was when they had those little simple things going on or whatever, but now it's this one. So tell me this does not look like that palette. I'm telling y'all, like, if you have this palette, I feel like it looks similar. I know when I talked about this palette in the past in my limited edition palettes I'm never letting go, one of y'all was telling me that you still had this palette and use it. I was like, I'm not here to judge, girl. Because I mean, like, I might use this to recreate a look for you all, for the people who do still have it. So you can tell me if you're interested in that or not. Or if you want me to use my palette. If you want me to do looks on any of these palettes, let me know. I feel like my girl Dion pretty well covered all the lethal ones though. So I don't really need to go into detail about that. Dion done already got y'all covered, hooked it up. And I tell the Lord thank you, because she know I need a break. So she be out here on the highways and the byways, helping your girl out and, you know, getting some new content out there for y'all. So I hope y'all are enjoying Dion's dupe videos, and make sure you go watch. Support the bestie. Go watch the Lethal Cosmetics duping video she did on the new collection. Thank you. But back to this. This is giving me the Coastal Vibe palettes if I've ever seen any, honey. So I would definitely say if you have this palette and you're not scared to put it on your eyeballs, because I feel like this is, she's up there. She's up there in years. I don't know. However, this Lust for Dust might be on sale right now at ColourPop while we talking. Now, I don't know if it's going to be selling more. I know they were supposed to be having 30% off sale. And I think this was already on the sales rack. So it might be even better deal than, we know it's going to be a better deal than the Coastal palette. But I recreated mine, so just keep that in mind. But I do feel like it does have some of those similar type tones, even without the way I recreated it, that make this look really similar to that palette. So that's just something to keep in mind. Maybe go ahead and try to get the Lust for Dust palette from ColourPop if you don't want to spend the $45 on that, because I think this is only in like the 20s range, so you could buy two of these for the price of one of those. So I would recommend maybe picking this one up and saving yourself some coin, and then use that $3.50% off coupon at Ulta and throw it in your basket and go, girl, because that's my plan. Okay, that would have been my plan if I didn't have this palette and the other one I just showed you. So that's why I personally don't want this. However, y'all know the curiosity in me is like, well, maybe I should get it and see if it's correct and compare. And then I can do 3 looks, 3 palettes with the brand. Well, technically it would be 4 looks, 4 palettes, because I have like some fairy one that they had that they reformulated and sold. So I don't know. But let's end it on the, what is the Mermazing? Is that she said some of these palettes are from the original Mermazing collection. Now the first palette I showed you all in the new makeup releases video, I don't necessarily have a dupe for that one, unless you want to just use the strawberry milkshake palette from Unearthly Cosmetics, because I feel like it gives some of the vibes of that, and it just has lighter pastel-y yellows and not as much pink, but it has the pink and the green like that does, and it has the yellows like that does. So I'm like, if that's what the strawberry milkshake palette consists of, or maybe you just pull out your Glam Light one, but I feel like the Glam Light one has a little bit more pink and more red than strawberry milkshake. I feel like strawberry milkshake would be the best one to dupe this. Just keep in mind that the colors are going to be deeper and grungier, as you see right here. They're going to be deeper and grungier than that palette would be. So that's just something to keep on your radar if you know, more interested in this palette. It's going to be more lighter and pastel-y and a little bit of like, you know, the pink and the green, but it's mainly focused on the bright yellow and the mint tone. So if that's something you're interested in, go ahead and get that. But if you already have the strawberry milkshake, then you might not necessarily need it. Again, if I find some more palettes I feel like in my collection would dupe this, then I'll put them here. But I don't really see that happening, just because I don't really vibe with this color story, so I wouldn't see why I would necessarily, you know, pick it up. The other two I'm definitely feeling, but again, she's come out with this color story in the past. Like if you all remember her Bloom palette that got discontinued, it's giving the vibes of the separate palette that we're looking at right now, because I'm like, both these look the same. Why do I need both? Like why do I need both? I don't feel like I need both. So I don't need both. And I didn't like the formula of the Bloom palette. If you all remember, my girl Dr. Ash on her makeup said she liked it, so that's how I ended up trying it out. I just personally wasn't a fan of the formula of that palette. I feel like the mattes were difficult to work with, and so it made it not be a palette I preferred. So I sold mine on my Mercier. However, like if you have the Evil Mermaid and you're just concerned about the blue side of this palette, then I don't feel like you need this. And if you wanted like the blue and purple deep vampy vibes that's on one side of this palette, you have the Creeps and Crawls palette from Scooby-Doo and Glamlight, the first collection, then I feel like you don't need this either, because it's giving a lot of those dark, deep, grungy vibes to it. Or if you have the Terra Moons with a Cosmic Wanderer palette, you might not need to get this either. I'll pull that out of the drawer and show it a second, because I believe that's here. But yeah, see how this is giving a lot of those similar vibes to it. Now this one is definitely a little more deeper and damper, and I feel like there might be more shimmers in the Clarity Cosmetics one than in this one, but I feel like they used to give a similar vibe, if you will. But yeah, so the Cosmic Wanderer here, like I was saying, it gives a lot of those similar vibes too. Now I know it has more colors than that one normally does, because it has the pink in it, and that palette doesn't have it as we see, and it has that bright shimmery shade, but I think that one ends up turning to be an iridescent, and that's good for inner corner. So it has some other shades that that one doesn't have, but I still feel like this one would still be a good alternative. If you already have Cosmic Wanderer, then you don't need to necessarily pick up this one. So I didn't think about that when I was making the video earlier, else I would have said it. And the last palette, it just reminded me of their kimono palette that I had gotten during the holidays that I showed you all, and that would mean it's similar to the Huda Beauty, the Mercury Retrograde. So if you have either one of those, I feel like this is similar. It's hard to hold this one open though, because this shade constantly breaks. I don't know what's going on with the shade and why it won't behave, but I always have to repress it, and it's always a whole hot mess. So hold please. So I guess I'll swatch that shade since I have to press it down every single time. It is gorgeous, it's stunning, it is lovely, but it's like, you know, I don't want to have to swatch it every single time. I have to press it down every single time. So that's my concern. But this is what the palette, this is what the palette looks like. So the Komodo palette looks, to me, similar to this palette. And if you already have Komodo, I don't feel like you need this. But Komodo was their holiday release for 2023. I wasn't necessarily, you know, crazy about the fact that shade broke, but my other palette was just fine. Oh wait, no, it wasn't the Mercury Retrograde that this was supposed to be compared to. I'm sorry. It was that Too Faced palette, the Maple Syrup Pancakes. I feel like it gives the vibe of that palette too, because I remember I compared this one and that palette together. So if you have that palette as well, you don't necessarily need to go ahead and grab, you know, this one, because there are similar palettes on the market, and that I remember that Maple Syrup Pancake palette ended up going for like 10 or 15 bucks. So hopefully you got to grab that. See how it's green and then it shifts to like, you see how it shifts to I think pink or something, or purple. But yeah, so it's definitely giving similar vibes of that. So I'm just like, yes, okay, I don't need any of these things. And hopefully you found that you didn't need any of these either, now that I showed you all these other things. So new eye look who this, new eye look who this. So since I made that video initially, or since I made this video initially, I have found another palette that I wanted to include here that you all had told me a while ago that when they premiered it or when they released it that you wanted me to talk about. So that is this one right here, the one from Unearthly Cosmetics. And as soon as I saw like the full palette, I was like, if this ain't just the Nomad Province palette, because to me that's what it gives without the orange in it. I feel like it's just a Nomad Province palette. It has pink instead of orange, but as you can see, this is what they look like side by side, and I'm like, this is the same palette. Like, why do I need a difference? Now maybe because they discontinued this palette, you might be interested in getting the one from Unearthly Cosmetics, because I'm like, you know, they discontinued this from what I remember or what I recall. But if you already own it, it's like there's no real need for that one unless you just really wanted some orange. And again, I'm always one for pull an orange out of another palette and then you'll have the majority of what you want in that palette. There's also the Lemonade palette from Dede Cosmetics. I feel like it looks really similar to this palette as well. Now, not exact, but it does have, you notice that like muted like mauve-ish situation and then the nice orange and yellows with it. This one just doesn't have the red. So it depends on what you're looking for, what you need. You can still find this one on Mercier for a reasonable price. So if you wanted to be able to wear those type of colors to work, but you need a more muted version so you can wear it to work, I feel like the Dede Cosmetics Lemonade palette would be better for you. I don't think she sells this on her website anymore. I think this was the one that had the issues with the shimmers being hard pressed in there. So that's why you had to when you reordered it or whatever, you supposed to or when you sent it back, they were supposed to send you another one and pay for the shipping and all that. But I bought mine from Sephora. I didn't buy mine from her website when she was at Sephora. So you know, you but if you already have this palette, I don't feel like you necessarily need to get that palette. Now the next one I have is Angie's palette. I know a lot of people got the little ghost palette in their what do you call it, in their mystery boxes from Ulta. I know my girl Danessa did. So if you have this one, this might be a good alternative for you too. Now this one isn't going to be exact because it has colors in it that aren't in there, but if you're just looking for those oranges and the reds, as you can see the fun bright yellow and the blue, I mean the purple, and you're not exactly keen on the color story being exact, but you just want something similar that's already in your collection, if you don't really look at the blues in here, I feel like it gives a similar vibe as well. Now it's not giving the mauve-ish tones of purple in it, it's giving more traditional purples, if you will. So if that's the issue to you, then you might not want to pull for this one. But I felt like it had the yellow, it had the oranges, and it had the purples to it, along with the blue shifting pink shimmer, if you're into that. And this one could be a good alternative for you, so I figured we include that one as well. The last two I have are missing the whole mauve element, so there's more warm tone palettes. So if you wanted the more mauve element, you could look at the first three, but these last two are really just more of warm tone palettes without the mauve element, which is, I'm assuming, was supposed to make that palette unique. So we're gonna start off with this one. This is the Metamorphosis palette. I'm pretty sure that's the name of this palette from Lethal. This is from their holiday collection. I think it was Metamorphosis and then like Evergreen for holiday last year, but this is what it looks like. So again, you see it's giving a lot of those nice warm tones to it. It just doesn't have the cool mauve tones to it. But if you just wanted some nice warm tones, or you could just pick certain shades out of here, and if you have other palettes from Lethal, you can always pop these out because it has the holes in the back. My girl Dionluvsmakeup done already put y'all the game on these. It has holes in the back so you can pop it out, so you can always pop these out like you can with Natasha Denona. And if you have more Lethal shadows and have some similar like mauve-ish or just cool tones you'd like to put in there, you might be able to take like deeper purples out of the Evergreen palette if you bought both these palettes in a bundle on their website and put those down there and make that work out for you better, as opposed to just getting a whole new palette because you wanted some cool purple tone shade. So that's just something to keep in mind if you do own the Metamorphosis palette from Ulta Cosmetics. That'll be good for you. And the last one I have to talk about that I can think of right now anyway is the Tropical palette from Beauty Bay. I saw my girl Cole of the Ball talking about how they had brought this back because I bought mine last year and she said they brought it back this year, which I'm kind of excited for because I thought it was a really nice color story. As you can see, this is giving more pink and those orange and yellow tones. So if you're not necessarily crazy about purple, you might like this one better because it has pinks in it. But like I said, if you wanted the more cool mauve tone aesthetic to it, then you might want to look at some of the other ones I suggested. But I figured I would show this to you too for all the people who are warm tone lovers who might not actually be excited about the cool tone part but think that color combination is nice and stunning. So these are the last things I have to show you all in this video. So I swear I'll try to be done this time, but I hope you all enjoyed this video. Remember, you all are diamonds like I told you early on. Comment down below if you want me to do any eye looks with any of these particular palettes, as far as why you don't need, just as opposed to me showing, or do you really need like combination of palettes so that you don't have to go out and buy other palettes. Make sure you subscribe if you have not already. My membership is down below if you're interested, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Be blessed, girl. Bye.